have been so many women, so many different times. I've been a daughter, a mother, a businesswoman, a federal worker. I was 85 before I became a park ranger. I retired at 100. I've actually been so many things that's hard to remember. I'm 101 years old. When I was in my 40s, I believe, I suffered a mental break. During my breakdown, I would be singing. I remembered several songs, only to find that I'd written them. Little boy black, city streets calling. They're fascinating songs. They tend to be about life as I was living it. I think that music has the power to change anything, because I could sing things that I couldn't say, but when I sang them, they were acceptable. I was discovered any number of times. I couldn't do that. I had 4 children. I wanted to be a Betty who sang. I didn't want to be a singer. I set the box of songs in the closet, and they stayed in that box for 40 years, only to be found a few years ago by a filmmaker who was doing a film about me, and they have provided a soundtrack for a film that tells my life story. When my 2 husbands and my father all died within 3 months, I was no longer to find by someone else's name. I didn't consider myself a feminist because the men in my life were suffering the same kinds of oppression that I was. It wasn't until the 90s that I began to take on feminism as a role for me. That's when I began to really feel like Betty. The advice I would give to myself as I was a young woman would be to never marry. I could have done all the things that I have done without a man. What's more important?
Soskin, we're going to get into her story momentarily, but what a story that is, Betty Reid Soskin. Welcome to Let It Be Known. Niele had some fun yesterday without me. That's okay. And you're on mute, so you're not having fun with me today.
Hey, good morning. Welcome back, Stacy. Welcome back.
Yes, indeed, indeed. I said you had fun without me yesterday. You and J. Anthony Brown, y'all was acting like y'all was at a personal barbecue, just hanging out, chilling, having fun.
Well, we of course, we had to give them the headlines that were important to
Gossiping.
Black America. Yeah, we gave them the headlines that were important to Black America, and we're gonna do it today, right before the Christmas holiday.
Wait a minute though. What's the name of his product again?
Oh, hotter than a mofo.
Only J. Anthony Brown. Oh boy, I see you perked up when he said he had it in wine too.
Oh.
Oh gosh, what a day. It's Niele, I know where you're not, it's not, any precipitation, but we got some white stuff in the Northeast again.
Oh no, we were expecting a snowstorm. Not a snowstorm,
That's
but a
breaking news.
rainstorm today, tomorrow, and I think it runs through Christmas Day. So yeah, Mayor Karen Bass came on, and she's very proactive now since the fires that happened almost a year ago. We're coming up at the top of the year. And so she put out the alert, told everybody to stay off the roads as much as possible. We're expecting heavy rain starting today. That should run through about Thursday.
I tell you what, J. Anthony should have been here this morning because I need a comedian to really recapture the whole weekend. Black funerals. Black funerals. Ain't nothing like black funerals. Oh my God.
Right. Well, before we get into that, I mean, I think that's the perfect segue to remember Betty Reid Soskin, who was the National Park Service's oldest active ranger, who helped shape the creation of a park honoring the millions of workers in World War, that's two defense jobs. Among them, women like her who preserved while facing racial discrimination died. She died Sunday at her home in Richmond, California. And of course, she's experiencing a lot of what, we were talking about yesterday, Jay and I, about the Jasmine Crockett's and the Fonnie Willises and the Letitia James,
Mhm.
that after 100 years and hearing her story that we would have progressed, but Black women are still facing the same thing.
Yeah. It was just 14 years ago that she became an NPS, a National Park Service employee. Just 14 years ago at age, what, 90. This, I mean, what a story though. We saw, and Greer came up with all that great stuff that we saw about her in the video there. She worked on a park service grant to tell the untold stories, I should say, of Black Americans who worked in the U.S. during the war, leading to that led to this temporary job with the Park Service. Actually, she had a temporary job 10 years before that, when she was she was 84 when she got the temporary job, and then she ultimately retired in 2002, just a few years ago.
Yeah. A lot of times they say, the elders, once they stop working, they decline fast. I'm not
Mhm.
saying that happened to her in her case, but a lot of times,
Yeah.
just staying active, keeping your motor skills going and doing what you're familiar with, it adds longevity to your life. Like I said, I'm not saying that's the reason, why, because she
Hmm.
retired. But for her to work that long, and be in her right mind. I remember the stories about her, when she, made that milestone.
Hmm.
And this look like the story she was able to tell now about her life and about being a singer. We only looked at
Yeah.
her as a park ranger, but she was so much more. She was a wife. She was a singer. She had a passion for music. She was a feminist. All of these things, help make her Black experience now part of American history.
Now, isn't her story a great story?
Hmm.
Simply put, right? It's a great. These are the stories, folks, that the supremacist in chief, Pennsylvania Avenue, and his crew want to erase. These are the type of stories they don't want you to know about. But Miss Betty, she there was she was raised in a Cajun Creole Black family that settled in Oakland after the Great Flood of 1927 destroyed large parts of New Orleans.
Hmm.
Her family, they were among thousands of Black railroad workers who found the West Coast while working the sleeping cars, the porters and all of that. She worked with her family on the Southern Pacific and Santa Fe train. So they, it's a history. It's amazing history, Niele. And again, this is what Donald Trump and his folks want to erase.
For sure.
Yeah, and it makes it. You know what? So just as a little segue, it makes it all the more sad. There's no need to get angry. Makes it sad watching somebody like a Nicki Minaj stand on Turning Point USA stage and say Trump and JD Vance made her proud to be an American. I saw Talbot Swan write something that I thought, man, he's spot on, because he said it's the height of hypocrisy because first of all, she is an American. She was born in Trinidad and Tobago, and by her own admission has been an undocumented immigrant herself since she was 5 years old. She can't vote in US elections, but she praises the architects of policies that are devastating Black people, devastating immigrants, and marginalized communities. I mean, he went on and on and on. He says that every day, while everyday immigrants, especially Black and brown immigrants, are being rounded up by ICE, detained, and deported, celebrity wealth and global fame provide her with insulation from all of this. It
Mhm.
said ICE isn't knocking down her door because power protects her in ways that will never protect working class families. There are people who believe that Nikki's doing this to get a pardon for her husband.
And her brother.
and her
And her
brother.
brother as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Some people do
So
believe that. Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, I wonder if that's the case. I really do. I
Well,
mean, there are. Mhm.
we were talking yesterday. In the conversation came up that maybe, don't be surprised if you see Nicki Minaj performing for Turning Point's halftime show for the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? It could be coming to that. And also, I'm pretty sure we're about to hear Nicki Minaj, Charlie Kirk talking about Nicki Minaj in an unfavoring way. Can we hear the clip, Greer?
Woman, she's an amazing woman. She has a soul and a heart for the Lord.
Nicki Minaj, Cardi B.
Okay, Nicki Minaj is causing dads to leave the home.
Hold on, I don't think that's a good role model for 18-year-old black girls. I don't.
I love
There you have it. She's sitting up there Turning Point, and Charlie Kirk didn't think too favorably of her. So there you have it.
Right, exactly. So this is a something's in it for me type thing. So I will go out there and look like the fool that I am, and get hopefully get what I bargained for. Hopefully get a pardon for my brother. Hopefully get a pardon. I don't know why she would want to get a pardon for her husband at this point. I mean, he's convicted.
Well, that's her nanny. Her husband is her nanny.
Oh, okay. Homeboy is the nanny, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
takes care of Papa Bear, as they call him.
Who's Papa
That's
Bear?
what they call their son, Papa Bear.
Oh, okay. That's quite the life. But you know what? When you have the type of criminal record he has, I guess it is what it is. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, I'm just not sure if her brother or her husband. I mean, I don't know. I don't recall them being federal cases. I don't recall the rape
That's
and
a
the
good point.
molestation being federal cases. So I'm not sure that's the motive behind it. I know that Nicki has been pretty much on a cast on an island since all of her comments towards, she went after Meg Thee Stallion. She's gone after SZA. She's gone after Jay-Z. Beyonce. Well, she hasn't really gone after Beyonce to say, but you go after her husband, you go after Beyonce.
Right.
So I'm not clear on what the motive is. I do get the motive if they're in federal prison or they've been, convicted in a federal trial. But if it's state, then that kind of leaves it, to being a mystery. We really don't know.
Well, maybe she's not intelligent enough to understand that there's a difference between federal and state. There's a lot of people out there like that, and wouldn't surprise me if she.
But that's what I'm saying. That might not be her motive.
And as mentioned, her brother convicted child molester. He was caught red-handed, molested his stepdaughter. She stood by him despite him being caught. You here, and this is where you have to. I believe you got to draw. I would draw the line. You can support your family member. Your family member can be the worst individual. He could be a thief. He could be a murderer, and you can stand by them or whatever. But I draw the line at child molestation.
Okay.
You can't stand. I don't care who you are. I'm not standing by you on that. I'm not supporting you in any way. You ain't getting no commissary money. You definitely ain't getting no visits. I mean, I'm not advocating murder or anything like that, but I'd be more willing to put money on your books if you murdered somebody than if you molested a child. I'm not doing it. You are dead to me at that point. You're dead to me. It's as simple as that. And so if Nicki brother, sister, whatever, you want to support that, you go ahead, Barbie or whatever she want to. How would black women call herself Barbie?
Well, no, that's that's just the name of of her fans. I mean, she has the Barbs, Beyonce has the Beehive, Rihanna has the Navy Nation, Taylor Swift has the Swifties. So I mean, that's just what you call your tribe. Cardi B, I forget what Cardi B calls hers.
She got a name too?
Most of them all have names. Like if whatever their fan base is, it's
Mhm.
you know, it's what you call them.
Okay. All right. Okay. So right away. Okay, so in other news this morning, the Trump administration will begin seizing the pay of people in default on their student loans early in 2026. It's going to be the first wave of new wage garnishment since the pandemic, and it's the total opposite than the former administration, who was trying to, and the Supreme Court was blocking them at every turn, eliminate student debt, to cancel student debt. Now he wants to, this guy is going to have you guys' paychecks garnished if you're behind on your student loans.
That's wild. I just want to go back. It's the Cardi gang. Trixie is saying it's the Cardi gang.
Cardi.
Yeah, for Cardi
Yeah.
B. She's saying it's the Cardi gang.
Uh,
Dr. Marilyn said, referring to Nicki Minaj, she may lose her fan base for this. We'll see. We'll see. All right, she has a huge transgender fan base. And so it'll be interesting to see how they respond to, you know, her being a part of such a homophobic group of people. We'll see. But as far as the student loans are concerned, yeah, I mean, she's so unconnected with the average day-to-day working American class person that she has no idea the hardship that she is going to inflict on millions of young Americans. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know, Gen Zers who maybe didn't get the Biden pardon for student loans, for lack of better terms. And so, you know, I mean, she's just cruel, you know?
Disgusting.
It's just cruel.
It is absolutely disgusting, and that is the point of the crazy administration. It's the point is cruelty. We've said that they want to see just how cruel they can be. But also another administration news: 3 days after releasing a large bunch of the Jeffrey Epstein documents that contain few mentions of Donald Trump, the Justice Department yesterday disclosed thousands more files that included wide-ranging references to Donald Trump. The documents show that a subpoena was sent to Mar-a-Lago, Trump's residence, in 2021 for records that pertain to the government's case against Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's accomplice in the sex trafficking scandal. They include notes from an assistant U.S. attorney in New York about the number of times Trump flew on Epstein's plane, which turns out to be dozens and dozens of times that he flew on Epstein's plane, went to Epstein's island, and one trip they were accompanied by a woman who appeared to be at most 20 years old, according to the notes. But they also include the fact that the FBI collected. Now you got to remember, this is not Trump's FBI. This is the real FBI collected documents about Trump's involvement with Epstein. Talk about Diddy parties, Epstein parties at various Epstein properties in the early 2000s. We know the deal with this. I mean, you can't pull the wool. What they tried to do, Niele, as you well understand, they put out pictures of like Chris Tucker and Bill Clinton and Michael Jackson with Epstein. But those pictures, none of those pictures were on Epstein's island. And also remember this, when you are rich and famous and powerful like that, you're going to be around other rich, famous, powerful people. Epstein happened to have been one of the richest and more powerful people in his heyday. And he had this jet that they would use. And in Chris Tucker's case, Chris Tucker went over, him and Bill Clinton went over to Africa on a humanitarian mission. And then they probably had no idea that, according to federal authorities, that Epstein would use trips like that to recruit some of his victims. They went on humanitarian trips. Just because they were pictured with Jeffrey Epstein does not mean Diana Ross does not mean in any way, shape, or form that they either knew about his crimes, and certainly that does not mean that they participated in any of his crimes.
Yeah, for sure. I know a spokesperson yesterday for Bill Clinton came out and called on the Department of Justice to release any documents. I mean, any documents related to him in its ongoing release of files. Randomly, they're putting files out, then they're taking them down, and then they're putting more up, and then they're taking them down and putting back up with more redactions. But Bill Clinton's press person says what the Department of Justice has released so far and the manner in which it did so makes one thing clear: someone or something is being protected. And his spokesperson said, we don't know whom, what, or why, but we do know we need no such protection. So Bill Clinton is like, let them all roll. Put them all out.
Now, somebody writes that if he's come on, if they knew that man, they knew what he was up to. That's just not accurate at all. You assuming that they knew him very intimately. It doesn't work that way in that world. I mean, in the world of billionaires and stuff, they just have. You remember that there's a famous video of Diddy, Jay-Z, 50 Cent, I think was in the video, if I'm not mistaken, some years ago. Several black hip hop icons, and raising the glass, and they were wearing all white and celebrating all of them being billionaires. Doesn't mean that any of those guys in that picture, including Jay-Z, knew that Diddy was committing. In fact, let's be real. What crime did Diddy really commit other than abusing Cassie, hitting her? But that's the whole, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But what I'm saying is, since Diddy's been in prison, folks, he's been renting out his private jet to the tune of, and he's made $2 million. And people know he's convicted, and yet he's still making money on that plane. So
I'm trying to figure out what
what I'm saying, Niele, is when someone says that if they were pictured with Epstein, or they knew Epstein, they knew of his crimes. People knew Charles Manson and didn't know he was a maniac. It doesn't mean.
Well, I think that's a little different,
no.
But I think more of a comparison would be Harvey Weinstein. Like, they knew what he was doing in Hollywood, but they still went to his parties. I mean, as long as this stuff types to happen. You have family members at Christmas dinner, and you know that they beat on their girlfriend.
Well, my point though, Niele, is that you don't know what everybody's doing.
Right, but
these relationships are not relationships. Say you and your homegirl, you and people that in your world, you may have close relationships where you know that they're up to something, or it's impossible. You might come across somebody, and you take a trip to Washington, another journalist, right? And because she's a journalist, doesn't mean you know her life.
But I think we knew what Diddy, they knew.
No, I'm talking, let's talk about Epstein. We talk
No. What I'm saying is, though, there's a continuity thread to all of it. Harvey Weinstein, Diddy, Epstein, people knew that situation, but they also knew another side of them. They didn't know the devil in the detail, but they heard about the freak-offs. The freak-offs have been around since Diddy was at Uptown. Harvey Weinstein, they knew that, what Harvey Weinstein was doing, but they still went to the parties. But that doesn't make them criminals. They're like, that ain't my business.
Okay, let me say this. Since you said that, I'm going to take Chris Tucker, for instance. So we're saying that Chris Tucker knew that Epstein, when he was hanging out on Epstein's plane flying to Africa, he knew Epstein was a pedophile?
I'm pretty sure he heard about the young girls. It was hard to not to.
Okay, so Diana Ross, Michael Jackson, and all of them knew about this. Then that makes them, if you and John are right, that makes them dirtballs.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does. Ain't no way you can support.
Okay, that's your opinion. That's your.
No,
opinion.
I'm saying no, Niele. I'm saying pedophilia. And you okay with that? That you a low life if you okay with. Would
I
you hang
mean,
out with your
like I said, there are people that are going to come to Christmas dinner, and you know they beating up on their little girls, or you
but
know
again?
you know that, and you gonna have Christmas dinner, and they gonna go about their business. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm not
Right,
saying that it's wrong. But what I'm saying is, a lot of time people compartmentalize it. That's just not my business.
if you knew somebody was a child predator and they sitting at your table, you gonna let them sit at your table? For the most, I'm sorry, people in general have. I just don't see it. Maybe it's just me. Then it's me. All right. Uh-oh, Greer has something to say. We can't hear you, Greer. Did you hear her, Nia?
I can't hear her. But our guest is here, so I mean, I think we might be ready to bring
Okay.
the guest in.
Okay. Dr. Everton Blair is challenging for Congress in Georgia's 13th district, and we're gonna chat with Dr. Everton Blair right now. Dr. Blair, welcome to Let It Be Known.
Thank you, Stacy. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good
It's
morning,
such an
Dr.
interesting time we
Everton.
are already having. I'm happy to shift gears a little bit and tap
Yeah,
in.
we're gonna shift gears, okay? Don't worry about it. I can't clear that one.
Oh my gosh. Dr. Blair, first of all, congratulations on your announcement of running for Congress. What went into that decision?
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here on the show. And, I have been born and raised in this community, Gwinnett County specifically, and I've seen it change. And we get moved around pretty often with the congressional redistricting. And a large part of my reason for running is we have a new representative in this district, and the incumbent is not meeting the moment. And I've seen and served and led in this community, my hometown, with my family and friends, folks that I've known my entire life. And I just know that we deserve more. We can do more in this moment. We can actually meet the moment and give people something to vote for, in addition to resisting this moment with this administration. But I just see a huge opportunity that we are not really seizing and leading on. And we just need new messengers and new leaders if we're going to actually achieve and accomplish that. And I think when you look at this district, how it's boomed and grown, right? These are areas where in the 90s, we weren't even over here. And my family was one of the first Black families to move into the neighborhood where I was born and raised. And you look around now, and there are so many more of us in communities like Gwinnett, Newton, Rockdale, and Henry counties. And that growth, right, has really led to a lot of political opportunity, but we haven't seized it, and we haven't really been beneficiaries of the economic and social well-being that I think we have for the next generation and for many more. So I'm excited to just lead with my vision centered on what's going on in the community and how we can be more connected and how we can actually build an economy and a life that benefits Black families all across the district.
Well, what are some of the issues or things that you have identified that you want to address if you were elected for Georgia District 13?
Yeah, I'm hugely focused on education, healthcare, and affordable housing. And we're having an affordability conversation in this country, but we have to break it down into what it means for people's everyday pockets. And in this community, right, it's all sprawling suburbs. It's not the city of Atlanta, but a lot of us are still dependent on the city of Atlanta. And so we're having a different conversation about infrastructure. And we're looking at corporate landlords that are coming in and really buying up all of what are supposed to be single family homes and turn them into rental properties, which is hiking up the rates for everybody. And so we need to crack down on that, right? Like homes should be purchased by single families, not corporate landlords. And so there's that is one of the biggest issues that I think the federal government could play a role in making sure that people can actually afford to live in their community. And many of these, hedge funds and private equity shops are going rogue, and we have to have some limitations on that. I look at healthcare, and in a state like Georgia, where we've seen these ACA subsidies expire, people are facing some of the highest premium hikes in their healthcare insurance, and the federal government could just expand Medicaid, right, and make the ACA subsidies permanent. So
Mhm.
there's a huge fight right now that our member of Congress is not talking about. He meets with no one in the community. He's not visible, and we just deserve a member who's not only accessible, present, and can last the entirety of the Trump administration, but also one that has a vision for where we should be moving and is talking about the issues that impact folks in the community, and is, you know, accessible and present to be able to hear more ideas and to advance more of a legislative agenda based on what people are going through.
Mm.
You mentioned the buying of homes. There's a lot of confusion, or at least I don't know that people understand the confusion about BlackRock. Really, Blackstone is the private equity firm that acquired thousands of homes following the 28 crisis, and BlackRock is now being. There's some internet postings. They're going viral for buying up all houses. That's a little bit inaccurate information, but when you talk about these private equity firms, is there legislation that you can think of or that you might want to consider in which it prevents these equity firms from buying up houses? Specifically, they go into certain neighborhoods, it seems, and they buy these homes. Is there a legislation on your mind or out there now that can kind of put a stop or at least ease this?
Yeah, well, Senator Ossoff has actually explored this, and I think partnering on what he is trying to do in the Senate with an analogous House bill would require some innovation. It would be new legislation that would be brought to bear, but I definitely think cracking down on the predatory practices there and the price hikes related to it. Right, the big issue here is when you go into a community and the entire neighborhood is supposed to be single family homes, and you change them into rental properties. Those new residents, right? Like, not only is there not the same community connection because of the transients there, but those new residents can't afford to put a down payment on their own home because the rent is also higher than what the mortgage would have been. And so the vicious cycle there that's being perpetuated is something where I think new legislation will need to be passed to crack down on that practice specifically for the corporate landlord.
Mm. I was talking to Dr. Heavenly Kim's last week, and she's also in your race. Are you looking? Are there going to be any debates that will be happening between the candidates? And are you concerned about any of your competitors?
Well, you know, quite fortunately, when you're born and raised in a community, you have a lot of strength to lean on in the community. And so I'm not new to this. And when I was first elected, I was 26 to the school board. And so we're also not new to having gotten things done that nobody thought was possible. And I was the lone Democrat on that board in Gwinnett County. And if you know Georgia well, you know that Gwinnett is the largest and most diverse school system in the state. And so there was a lot of pressure, but also a lot of enthusiasm that we generated in that district while I was serving. And then I recruited people to join our team and actually recruited Democrats to run against my Republican colleagues while on the board working with those Republicans. And so the hard stuff is not new to me. We were successful in flipping our board. I became the unanimously elected board chair at 28 and led during the pandemic. You know, I don't like to brag a ton, but like my street cred and my credentials kind of speak for themselves. And so there's a lot of work that we were able to do at the most challenging time in Gwinnett County's history, where I led the entire community during the pandemic. Our COVID protocols, our vaccine rollouts, our budget reauthorizations, our reaccreditation of the school system, the hiring and firing of a superintendent, and all of our adjudications. I was the leader for our entire county. And so I think it's important when you have somebody who is not only young and visionary, but also has the lived experience of governing and knows what it is like to pass a budget and can look at the line item allocations and see how you can pay teachers more and how you can expand services so you have more social workers, more counselors, and more just support resources in the community for your paraprofessionals, for your kids, for your early learning interventionists. We did so much in Gwinnett, and I just need to up the ante and bring it to another level.
Oh, so I see what you just did there. You're not afraid of Dr. Heavenly from Married to Medicine, and that you have the track record of being a public servant. I see what you did. So I'm definitely gonna be paying attention to the debate when it comes around. I'll say that.
Well, I also think that the district deserves very serious, competent, and focused leadership. And in a moment of crisis, it's one thing to be able to speak truth to power. It's another thing to have the capacity and the credibility among you people in your community that you can effectively get things done. And I think this is just a moment where we deserve leadership that can actually be effective. And I think I'm up for that job and the most qualified to make that contrast.
Yeah, Dr. Blair, you are the son of Jamaican immigrants who came to this country on faith and hard work. When you watch how this administration deploys ICE and federal agents to terrorize immigrant communities and Black communities, what does that say to you personally, and what does it demand from leaders in Congress?
It says to me personally that we are not living our values, and that people are kind of capitulating toward a regime that is not just authoritarian, but also just nasty and evil. And I think that people want better. We just don't know, what's going on every day. People aren't really tapped in and tuned into what the differences are. So we have to communicate, and we have to have a clear moral compass that is a part of our legislation. It's a part of our values, right? I'm not naive to think that we don't need immigration. We don't need to completely change and reform our immigration system, right? But the ways that we go about that is not ripping families apart, right? And it's not inhumane deportations, especially, terrorizing people on the basis of their race and ethnicity, right? It is making sure that our immigration system is funded so that you're not waiting years and years for your day in court. Right, it's making sure that the administrative backlogs and stopgaps are cleared so that you can actually proceed through, and you know where to go for your appointments, and you know where to go to asylum seek. And there's so many things that are like getting people caught up in a system where if we were to really shift our priorities towards clearing things up, we wouldn't even have this issue. So I think especially when you saw Biden's bill that the Republicans killed during the end of his first term, which would have ensured that the immigration system sought some reform, right? Because they knew that Republicans wanted to run on that issue in 2024, right? Like those are some of the things that we just need to go back to the drawing board and make sure that our system is working as designed. And so there's a ton there that I think we're just not really living up to our values, because this administration profits and benefits off of the chaos that it stokes. And it separates us and divides us in a way that actually drives some of the competition and the ratings and the views for people on their side. And that's just not how we should be living as a country. And it's not helpful to the next generation. We look at our challenges and we're still struggling on how to pay the bills.
Right.
And looking at a country where so many of the opportunities of generations before us are just not available to us. And so we need leadership that's honest, that cares about their neighbors, right? That speaks love and truth, and actually fights for a country where we are all going to benefit and can prosper.
How can our Let It Be Known family learn more about your campaign and your run for Congress?
You can come to my website, get involved. There's a volunteer and a get involved page, as well as tons more information about me, my issues, and my platforms at evertonblair.com.
You got a very important endorsement already. Talk about that, Governor Deval Patrick.
Oh, yeah. Governor Patrick has been a mentor of mine for years. And I'm just so honored that he sees in me what many in the community do, which is, I'm a young man with a lot of ideas, but a lot of capability. And I'm ready to get to work just like he did to expand opportunity for all of us.
Yeah.
Congratulations on all of that. Any upcoming events that if some of our viewers or listeners are in Georgia, do you have any upcoming events that they might want to check out?
Yep, we do in January. We're going to be hitting the ground with listening sessions, where especially if you go to the evertonblair.com page and click Get Involved, you'll see a series of Mobilize events where we'll be in the community, just really bringing people together, sometimes in homes, sometimes at the church, sometimes in community centers, just to hear their concerns and really bring our campaign to people instead of, forcing them to come to where I'm at. So you'll see a lot of those opportunities coming forth in the winter and at the top of the year.
Yeah, one last one from me, Dr. Blair. Oftentimes, and we certainly do it here as well, the Democrats' way of messaging is criticized, and we think rightfully so. With that in mind, though, Democrats often say and have said that democracy is under attack, under threat. But people are just tired of the talk. So, what does
Yeah.
fighting this type of almost dictatorship type regime actually look like in votes, laws, and in consequences? What does that look like?
We got to vote for more politicians who aren't bought. I think a lot of the talk is stale in Washington because corporate PACs run the entire system, right? And everyone is really, I think, mealy-mouthed because there's a very, very select few industries that have dominion over what you get to say, what type of bills you pass, who you fight for, what you even say about it to your community and constituents. And it all kind of boils down to who is funding you to be quiet or to speak up on this issue, but not this one. And if you go back in line item, being on the inside now has been so interesting because I've been able to see exactly why, oh, you're getting a check from this people. That's why you don't like these people. And all of that is why we are not taking a single corporate PAC donation because my money that we've raised, first of all, we've out fundraised everybody in this field, including the incumbent. And the money that we've raised has been from individuals, folks that I actually know, folks that I called and said, hey, you believed in me before. I need you to believe in me again. And that gives me the freedom and the latitude, but also it is truthful and authentic to who I am, that I don't have to go in there and worry about what big pharma is going to line my campaign coffers with, so that I then end up voting against the welfare and the well-being of people in my community in siding with big pharma. And that's what our incumbent has done time and time again. He sided with big industry and big business, and it's made for a situation where we don't have the representation we deserve because they're fighting for profits for a few billionaires. And on the other hand, we got millions of people, hundreds of thousands of working class Black folks in this community who we all want a leg up. We all want a way out. And that's the type of representation that I'll be bringing to Congress.
Well, congratulations on just taking the first step to help save democracy. And let our viewers know one more time how to catch up with you, how to donate, how to pull up at one of your events, or how to support and make phone calls for you.
Yep. All your information about us in this campaign is at evertonblair.com. And thanks again for the opportunity.
Thank you. We appreciate Dr. Everton Blair running for Congress out of Gwinnett County, Georgia.
Good luck. I love it. And so there you have it. Another candidate. 2026 is going to be a critical and important year. And as you see, we're talking to state legislators, federal candidates that are representing the Black perspective. And it is very important that we have representation in our federal government because nobody knows our story better than us. And so we're here to bring you all these voices, right, Stacy?
Well, someone wrote, Niele, News Troll 1982 or 982 says, if it's one more seat towards impeachment, vote for this man. Okay, what you got for us?
Since we're still, since we were in Georgia, let's head to some good news where Spirit and Truth Church in Atlanta announced at their Sunday service that they were eliminating $1.5 million in medical debt. And this is for those in need, and this is according to Pastor Mark Moore, who stated medical debt should never determine a family's future or rob individuals of dignity and peace. The senior pastor at the church said in a statement, and he said this Christmas, Spirit and Truth Church chose to respond with faith and action, lifting a burden that no one should have to carry alone. And Moore added that the church remains committed to restoring hope, advancing justice, and creating a lasting impact in the community. And so this is when you see churches really doing the work. Okay, because this is huge. 1.5 million in medical debt. Just this is what we're talking about. If they're not going to give you affordable care, guess what? The church will. And it's good to see churches are doing this.
What do you know of any others that are doing something similar? Have you
Yeah,
heard
there are a
any?
few other churches that were listed. I didn't that have done it in the past, so to say. But then you have down the street Jamal Bryant's, church that is, giving out toys, helping people with rent. And so whether it's healthcare or rent or whatever it is, it's not just a prayer. That's the worst thing sometimes a pastor to do is pray for you and wish you well, but you ain't gave them no bread. And I'm not talking about money. I'm just talking about, James says in the book of James, it says faith without action is dead. And if somebody comes to your porch and asks you for something and you say, no, I'll pray for you and wish you well, that's not faith. This is faith in action. And so there are a lot of churches that do this, and there are just as many that don't, but it's more important to uplift those that do.
All right.
And then, a couple of international stories that the Trump administration is doing that it is important for us to know about, because I ain't seen them this story no place else. But the Trump admin is removing dozens of ambassadors from their posts abroad, marking one of the largest shakeups of the State Department in recent history. Now, at least 24 senior diplomats have reportedly been notified that they must leave their roles as early as next month. Now, former diplomats say this level of recall is highly unusual, with some calling it unprecedented in the 100+ year history of the U.S. Foreign Services. So what's he gonna do? Send Jared Kushner everywhere? So Jared Kushner just gonna be the ambassador of everything. That's what's happening. And let me tell you why it's happening, because of this next story. The Trump administration and Jared Kushner are quietly circulating a sweeping and controversial proposal to rebuild Gaza into a futuristic international destination. And this is according to a report by the Wall Street Journal. Now they're calling it Project Sunrise. And their plan is to envision transforming the war-ravaged enclave into a high-tech, coastal, metropolitan featured luxury beach resort, high-speed rail, and AI-powered infrastructure. Now, remember, Donald Trump and OpenAI, Larry Ellison, they already announced that they have this big deal going on. And U.S. officials have reportedly presented the proposal to prospective donor nations, including Gulf kingdoms, Turkey, and Egypt, as Washington explores ways to finance Gaza's long-term reconstruction once the war ends. So there you have it.
Yeah, it's just the biggest grift in the history of this country.
And so you have we don't have any we're not, come the first of the year, we're not going to have any representation or a small group of representation across the entire world, okay? Because we have embassies everywhere. He's getting rid of that. And then you have Jared Kushner going to all of these countries, whether it's Russia, whether it's Israel, making all of these deals for Kushner Enterprises and Trump Enterprises. And that's what's happening.
Wow. The grift continues.
So, there we have it. And so before we end, I know this is one of our probably our last show before the end of the year, but since we talk so much about politics, Stacy, in chat, let's do our top elected officials of the year. Okay. We talked about doing this, but first we want to know, who is your breakout elected official, politician running for office? Who is your breakout star for 2025, Stacy?
Oh gosh. I mean, how do you not off the top of the head say Jasmine Crockett?
Okay,
It's
well,
just
she's probably gonna be so for breakout for me. I think it would be Mandami for
okay. That makes sense.
breakout star
That makes
Mandami.
sense.
You know,
That makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
for breakout, like the elected
Yeah.
official that just surprised everybody. Not
Yeah.
surprised, but just like you didn't see him coming, and look at
Mhm.
what he's done.
Yeah, I think what you just said, you didn't see him coming. Look what he's done. Madami fits that to a T.
Right.
Yeah.
Now for MVP politician, elected official.
None of them. None of them did nothing for us.
Well, I would say for MVP, mine would be at first it was Jasmine Crockett, but now it's a tie between Jasmine Crockett and Fonnie Willis. Because after what
Okay.
Fonnie Willis did this year, and especially the past couple of weeks, I would say she is an MVP. The way she talks to white folks, she is
Oh, boy.
definitely an MVP. So mine would be Jasmine Crockett for MVP. Now who would get the surprise? Who would get the
Uh,
surprise?
again, I'll let you handle it because none of them surprises me.
Oh, well, Marjorie Taylor Greene surprised me.
Well, you know what? I had a feeling you'd say that, and I guess it's a lot of people would probably agree with you on that. But it's when a person, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene is going through her I'm throwing a tantrum phase. And if Trump wanted to reel her back in, if he really wanted to reel her back in, I believe he can. That's why I just don't, I'm not gonna put too much on the fact that she's doing what she's doing. But I get it. I mean, I certainly could be wrong. And so
Well, whether she goes back or not, the way that she's dragged him over the past
mhm,
month was a surprise to me. And some of the things like her supporting the Epstein women,
mhm,
and saying that she believes them and pushing them to
mhm.
release those files, that was a surprise to me. I
Yeah, 'cause
never expected her to be that vocal, even about Donald Trump. The way she's saying that he's more into foreign affairs, like we're talking about these ambassadors, we're talking about what Jared Kushner is
mhm,
trying to do in Gaza. She is pushing like you said, America first. That does not look like America
mhm,
first. For her to say that and be one of the ones to speak up against Donald Trump in such a loud manner, that
mhm.
totally surprised me.
Yeah, I think the Epstein situation, a lot of MAGA was sold a bill of goods, and they are upset about this. She's not the only one upset, but she's probably the most prominent, who is really on a rampage about it. And he's lost so many favorability points with his base because of the Epstein's files. They were misled because
Mhm.
it is the problem. They drank the Kool-Aid. Go ahead, Greer. Greer, must be something wrong with your
Your audio,
sound.
because we can't
Yeah,
hear
because
you.
we still can't
We
hear
still
you.
can't hear you.
Oh boy, I would love to have heard what she had to say on that.
Yeah, put it in the chat, or if you
Yeah.
log out, come back in. We might have problems.
Right. But
But
I just think that she was more hurt over the wool being pulled over eyes because she was very vociferous too about the Epstein stuff, and she's disappointed. She's angry.
look, she was surprised.
Surprise,
She was
surprise.
surprised. She's surprised.
Yeah.
Surprise. I think maybe when you put it that way, Stacy, she got more of a surprise than we think that she's a surprise.
And right, and one other person who this Nate Butcher 3161. I can't disagree with this person as well. She realized she doesn't. This is what Nate Butcher 3161 says. She realized she doesn't have a penis, and the GOP won't let her play in the game for real. So she's pissed.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of truth to that too.
Yeah. And
Can y'all hear
There
me?
we go.
now we can hear
Yes.
you now.
What I wanted to say about this MAGA business and them being upset about the Epstein files or Trump being involved, it's ironic to me because all of their lawmakers and leaders are getting arrested for child pornography and things like that.
Yep.
I mean, all of them. And I think that for politicians like Marjorie Taylor Greene, it's just an opportunity, something that she could use, because she knew as well as all of those other lawmakers that Trump's role and that he was in those damn files. It was to her benefit, right? To pretend and act like, because she was the thing about Marjorie, we said, oh, she's a whack job and all of that. But now, and because she was saying the most outrageous and crazy things. Now all of a sudden she sounds sane. Interesting.
She also sounds wounded.
She absolutely sounds wounded. It's
like,
clear that she is wounded, but I'm just saying that. I mean, I agree. She is the biggest surprise, right? I never expected that when this administration came in, that these women lawmakers, these white women who was capping for them, Stefanik, all of them, who surprisingly, no surprise, has dropped out of her race. You don't hear anything from Boebert, right? You don't hear anything from these fake white women lawmakers. And Marjorie Taylor Greene was certainly that who decides at the very end of her career to become real. Right? I mean, it's just, when you really think about it, we've been talking about these white women lawmakers. We've been talking about Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, even Stefanik. But there was some, we didn't like their vote, but there's some real white women politicians that's been in the game for a while. We've been talking about these broads for the last 3 years. They were fake politicians. And now she decides to become real at the end. But I find it extremely, ironic that this is the straw that broke the camel back. All your lawmakers are going to jail for sleeping with little boys. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I mean, they get caught out there.
Right.
So it's just like, I just think it's just an opportunity. And, these Republican lawmakers aren't speaking to the fact that Donald Trump is in these files, but you upset about ACA. I'm just saying, now you want to get upset because you think, and you weren't upset about ACA before, right? I mean, not to the point, to this degree. Now, oh my God, I'm going to lose my seat. Come on, read the tea leaves. It's just, I just don't buy any of it. I'm just,
Kathy Hall says it's only because she's leaving, and if she was nice for any less of a time, she was scared she wasn't going to get her retirement. Dr. Joni says, I don't trust her at all. She's going to run for something. I don't trust her.
I don't trust her as far as
I don't trust her either. But listen, them goons showed up at her house.
Yeah, they did.
Well, that's the other part, right?
She said that when she really started supporting the survivors of Epstein, she started getting death threats like them. So, sometimes it's the oddest things that make you connected to people that you wouldn't even know. But she hears their stories, and then all of a sudden she starts getting messages and knocks at her door and things like that. So I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I think it's disappointment. I think it's manipulation. I think a lot of people, like she said, you're going to see a lot of Republicans jumping ship because now, Republicans are beating Democrats to the lame duck conversation. Okay. Republicans are starting to say that Donald Trump is a lame duck because he can't, based upon the Constitution and laws, he can't run again. And so that's why you see Erica Kirk, Charlie Kirk's wife, going around the country starting the campaign for JD Vance. That's why you hear JD Vance speaking up more. And I think in 2026, Stacy, that is going to be an interesting combination to watch. How Donald Trump is trying to stay in office, and JD Vance is going to start running for office, and the internal conflict that is going to have within that administration.
That right there, what she just said. Really, because that's what's going on right now. Trump and probably Stephen Miller and Vance, they have one agenda, but the Heritage Foundation has another.
Yeah.
And so that's where the real breakdown is going to come. So, and listen, we know how, these things work, honey. It can only go one way,
And let's be clear. Some people have the real Epstein files. I bet you the Heritage Foundation has them. I bet you Elon Musk has them. And so this is what they do. Okay. This is what white people do. They eat each other. Okay. And so don't be surprised.
Not all white people.
Don't be surprised. Well, I mean, it's general. I'm not saying all, but it's general.
The politicians.
Well, you know, no, and the corporate greedy ones, and the corporate greedy ones, you know, right. And then you do, like I said, like I stand by what I said. They are going to start eating each other, okay? Because like Greer said, like I'm saying, there are two different agendas happening in that White House right now. Two. Mm-hmm. It's one that has who's the next president, because everybody knows Donald Trump is wacky. And then you have the Trump clan, who is going to keep moving forward with 2028 thoughts in mind. And so you see it happening, like JD. What did he say the other day? He's dog whistling his own. He's starting his own thing. What did he say about black?
You froze
men up. Or don't have to be afraid to be white anymore. You know, come on out. We don't have that. We don't have that over us anymore. He's starting his own campaign,
and they are doing this in a very methodical way. Mm-hmm. They're helping each other, you know, because the EEOC coming out saying, "White man, have you been, you know, discriminated against?" You know, so this is the messaging coming out of this White House, and the danger that we are in, that we're all in, is that we're you know, out here, people are being played, right? Yep. I was watching this news report this morning on MS Now in Nebraska, where the Tyson's manufacturing plant in Nebraska, MAGA County, okay, being shut down. They didn't give them any real explanation. Mind you, based on a little bit of research, I can't verify this, but Tyson's sales were up $54 billion or something like that. So there's really, most of the people working at this plant are Hispanic, Somalians. Okay. These are not wealthy people. So that plant shutting down is like the way they told this reporting is like dropping a bomb, because it isn't just that. Then it's also it's a small town. The other stores and businesses in that community, they're Hispanic, they're Somalian. And the one white man that they showed in this reporting was holding a sign begging for help. And they asked him about Donald Trump. Well, I think he's doing a good job. Meanwhile, he's begging. He is begging on the street for money and for a vet. I believe everything he says. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's insane. So, you know, it doesn't matter that he's out here begging, and he's a veteran and he does not have access to resources, but he will do anything. So these white men being discriminated, you know, implanting that message into our society with all the data that we are seeing now. People got to remember too, we don't own a lot of these research companies that are putting out this data. It's coming from somewhere, right? But that white men are 92% of the people creating the content that we see, but they are being discriminated against. I mean, it's absurd.
Right. That's what I'm talking about. That's exactly who I'm talking about. Everybody know what I'm talking about. They have, I mean, and that's how they hold their power. They don't have the numbers, but they have systemically designed this country based upon their racist ideology. I mean, that's just what it is. And that's how they continue to hold their power. And that's why you see them being so aggressive in holding it so tight, because they know that they're not the majority anymore. But they have the power based upon how they design this country, which is all based upon systemic racism. And that is the only reason why they are winning now.
Yeah.
We need to stop talking about Trump and start putting that narrative out about JD Vance. because that movement is growing in a very strong way. And the way that they continue to grow is they like they did Trump the first. They got all the, they got the tricks, right? Because Trump came out of nowhere when nobody took him serious.
But that was all Roger Ailes over at Fox. Roger Ailes, who is now deceased, who basically started Fox News with the green light of Rupert Murdoch. He created the Trump beast. He created the Trump beast and created a platform for the Heritage Foundation and all these white nationalists and KKK members to find a home.
Right.
And so from Roger Ailes, you have the Heritage Foundation, and don't forget the NRA. The NRA is quiet, but they are right at the forefront 100%. Of all of this.
Right, exactly. So if you ain't got it, but before I get off this, I just want to know, anyone on this, any one of you a member of the Boule?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay, just curious. One, two.
All right then.
Stacy, are you?
What? No, of course not.
No.
So,
and then so the last politician that we wanted to talk about is the most disappointing. Who is the most disappointing outside of the presidency? Who is the most disappointed politician from a local, state, or federal office? Who is the most disappointing?
It's got to be a tie between Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer.
I
can agree with that. I agree with that. I don't have nothing to say.
No shade, Hakeem. I know we from Brooklyn, but I'm just saying.
You say Hakeem.
Yes, she said Hakeem for sure.
So I mean, what about your top stories, Stacy, of the year? Do you have any stories of 2025 that have stood out to you?
Well,
Greer? Stacy, top stories.
Well, the stories that have stood out are stories like we had this morning. The Betty Soskins of the world, the 104-year-old National Park Service employee who had such a history. Becoming an intern at the Park Service at 84, a temporary worker at 84, and at 90 becoming a full-time worker, and then retiring in 2020. I think she had a stroke or something in 2019, but still worked 3 more years. But more importantly than her NPS career, which is so improbable, is her life. And so stories like that, on the positive side, stories like that are what continues to inspire the work that we should be doing at places like BlackPressUSA.
Right. Yeah. Most definitely. Definitely remembering those who might sometimes get lost in the bleed. Oh, go ahead, Greer. What are your top stories?
Well, I'm gonna speak of something extremely personal, and that is an untold story that is not spoken about enough, and that is how this administration has attacked. And I want our audience to understand, has been intentional in attacking the Black press. The Black press was critical for not just African Americans during the Civil Rights Movement, but as we learned as decades went on, how DEI could not have existed. These white women, all the opportunities they benefited from, could not have existed would not for the work of Black folks, and the Black press has been under attack. We've lost a lot of our funding, and I think the world needs to, not enough of that conversation is being had. How the attack that Black media is under, but specifically Black newspapers. Okay, Black newspapers are driving. They're the ones that drive voters, and so this is a story that hasn't really been discussed about, but it was discussed on BlackPressUSA, and Stacy wrote this story, and there's several other stories like this. And this is something that I think that all should look into. The Blackout report was released as well that talked about our erasure. This story is goes in detail and gives a firsthand account of how the Black press has been targeted by this administration.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, that's a good one.
that is a great one, Greer. As we talk about, like, that's a story that's not being talked about, but probably one of the most critical stories as it relates to the Black experience in this country.
And let me add this
is the
to that.
erasure. Well, as is the erasure of Black media and Black press in particular.
And let me add to that too, Niele. When she talks about the Black press, and we're talking specifically about the National Newspaper Publishers Association. We're talking about the Washington Informer, the Los Angeles Sentinel, Atlanta Voice, on and on, Pittsburgh Courier.
Over 200 newspapers,
right?
Black-owned.
We're talking about 100% Black owned, and we're not talking. Roland Martin is 100% Black owned. We're not talking, but we're not including Roland for various reasons, including Roland is doing the work and doing what is necessary to keep himself and the Black Star Network going. And he's not taking no for an answer. Roland's hitting you with sledgehammers, and I'm all for the way he's doing it. I wish we were doing it that way. Because we are, and Roland this was what he probably would take exception to. We are more important than Roland. This history, this legacy is more important than Roland Martin. 200 years almost. March will make 199 years of this institution called the Black Press of America. And to have folks, again, we are more important than Roland in that sense. I'm not criticizing Roland Martin. I love what Roland is doing. But to have folks who, whether you Black, white, whatever, to spit on the Black press should be an affront to every Black person in America. The Black press has taken the Black community through slavery, because it was started before the end of slavery. It has taken the Black folks through Reconstruction, through the Black Wall Street, through Jim Crow, through the Civil Rights Movement, through the Black Panther Movement, to today, during the Trump Klan years. And those leaders of the Black press today need to toughen up or step aside and let somebody tougher come in and put their foot down and move forward in a way in which we're talking another 200 years. Right. Because there's no way this institution should be on death's door. It's not about Donald Trump's rollback. It's not about that. That's only part of the story. That's not the whole story. In fact, that is not even the death knell. We are the death knell. The lack of support from within is the death knell. I don't want to hear next year or the year after or later on that because of Donald Trump, the Black Press of America no longer exists. The NNPA, the National Newspaper Publishers Association, no longer exists. That it would be a falsity, a falsehood perpetrated by those who failed the Black press. Donald Trump is one part of the problem today.
Well, who would you say, you said for those who failed the Black press, who would you say is failing the Black press? Just so we have clarity.
I think members of the Black press have failed the Black press. I think there are publishers who have failed the Black press. I think that leadership has failed the Black press. I think Black people in general. We talked about this. I know you don't fully agree with this. I've written about it. Black billionaires, Black corporations, Black corporate America has failed the Black press, because I think if you don't take care of your own, and you know it's scriptural, you're worse than a person without faith. Black folks who are in a position have just either forgotten about us or walked away from us or don't care about us. anymore. So it's the wealthy Black community. You have to take care of your own. And this is, if there is anything worth fighting for, especially today when the destruction, not just the erasure, but the destruction of Black culture, Black history, Black books, Black memory continues to be under assault. When we've documented that history and we're still trying to, we get up every morning. You get up ungodly hours to get on this program.
Yes, I do.
Yes,
I do.
Yeah.
But I'm committed.
Document.
I'm committed.
Right.
And I think that, we're talking about all this, but on the flip side, I'm looking forward to seeing how we can create content, how we can create news that matters. And that, at this point, we have to use what's in our hands. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of a lot of tenure within this organization that sometimes maybe might stifle growth. You know what I'm saying? But for those of us who have the energy to do what the ancestors need us to do, for Black folks in Black media, it has never been easy. We have never had the same liberties and fight that New York Times or LA Times or Washington Post. We've always had the odds stacked against us. So I think it's time for us to just use, because of our affiliation, because of all of the important facts that you just pointed out about the need. Some Black folks don't even know how important the Black. They just take it for they take for granted their local Black newspaper. When they go to the grocery store, when they go to their local corner store, and that paper is there, they take it for granted. They may pick it up and take it to their granny. You know what I'm saying? But they take that for granted. And so I think that, maybe we can help move, Black press into a space they don't even know they need to be in. Yeah, and that's part of the problem too. There are some spaces they don't even know they need to be in.
A few weeks ago, I was on a text chain. I talked to the individual, very famous individual. Everybody knows this person. Very famous individual who said, I want to see what I can do to help the Black press. And this individual, I said he, so it's a he, put me on a chain with very high profile individuals, probably about 14 of them to be exact. And they, Jamel Hill was on that thread as well. I only say that name because just to give you an idea of some of the people. And this is not in any way against Jamel Hill. I love Jamel Hill. But in that thread, the individuals was so kind enough to tell folks about the Black press and the plight of the Black press and how the Black press was struggling to survive and how important it was for we all to keep the Black press alive. And I got the responses. I'm looking at the responses in the chat, in the text chat. These individuals were very, for the most part, not Jamel, but very, and one other person, Chris Broussard, was another person who was not, who got it. And they, other than Jamel and Chris, everyone else proceeded to write in, well, maybe we should start a special wing and give money to the National Association of Black Journalists. And I jumped in. I said, let me explain something to you. The reason why individual X, this huge superstar, started this chain, this text chain, was because of the Black press of America. And this is the Black press of America. NABJ is applause. There's nothing Black owned about NABJ. These are journalists who, for the most part, work for white-owned media, Washington Post, ESPN, etc., etc. We're talking about keeping the black press alive, not the Washington Post. Jeff Bezos does not need your money. The old gray lady in New York does not need your money or your support. We do. We need both, to be honest with you. I didn't hold back.
So what was the response? What was the response?
Like I said, the two that gave a positive response was Jamel Hill and Chris Broussard. And I think it's probably safe that I'll leave it just at that.
And I want to also make sure that the audience understand the news business is advertising, right? It's news, but we survive off of advertising. And because of this administration's policy on DEI and all of that, and anything Black is considered DEI, corporations, large corporations who used to do business with us are now afraid to or unwilling to do business because they are afraid of Donald Trump. So you need to, so Donald Trump, you know, there could be, we might have some internal issues. All of those things are true. I'm not trying to, but these rollbacks and what we're seeing today is what is directly impacting us financially. Okay. That's the problem. And then we need to, and I want to lay the blame where it lives. You know what I mean? Because you could come out of, other things, internal things, right? You can come out of those situations, but it's policies. It's these policies. And it's important that you know that, so that when you go and vote, you need to understand all of the institutions, the Black institutions that we are losing, whether you Black, yellow, midget, Martian, okay? Our story is as much of the American story, and probably, hell, more so, I'm saying that, to the colored people in captivity. And so, it's important that, we're emotional about it, needless to say, but this administration is responsible for what's happening to Black media. So I just want to make sure that that's clear.
Well, they are certainly like you said, the policies that have been put in place, and people don't understand. This is not saying y'all should just give us money. We have something very valuable. You go and you take out an ad with the Los Angeles Times or the New York Times or whatever. This is what we're saying. You're trying to, politicians, for instance, are trying to reach, you hear them all the time, they want the Black vote. Well, when you combine the newspapers and the websites and all of that of the Black press, you have over 22 million subscribers. Some say as much as 40, but the conservative side, I tend to lean on the 22 million subscribers altogether. That is the audience that you want to reach. Those 22 million people is who you want to reach. You would pay the New York Times to reach 22 million other people, right? And I'm pretty sure our rates are not New York Times rates. I'm pretty sure of that. I don't know what they are, but my best guess is there's not that. We only ask for fairness. This is when you talk about DE&I and all that stuff, affirmative action, whatever. Black people have never asked for a handout, for the most part. Have never asked for a handout. You ask, hey, just reciprocal stuff. We got what you need. You got what we could use. It's as simple as that. But when you combine our papers, and you got to remember that we have some serious brands with us, including Real Times Media. It's not just newspaper. I talked to Chris Bennett last a week or so ago. He's out in Seattle. He doesn't just have a Black press newspaper. It's the Seattle Medium. He has a whole radio station, and he's not the only one.
Ebony Magazine. Just y'all need to know that's part of it. That's Ebony.
Ebony. I was getting to that. Ebony Magazine. The classic example of Black news and Black culture. Ebony Magazine is a part of the NNPA. Rolling Out Magazine is a part of the NNPA. So, and you count when you think about the reach of these people, of these magazines and media companies, it's just tremendous. But even with that, I still stay on the conservative side. 22 million subscribers, right? Heck, the Washington Informer, their subscriber base continues to grow even through their struggles. They got tens of thousands of followers and subscribers. So it's not anything to just, and they're right there in the heart of things too, Washington. Like the Sentinel, Danny Bakewell puts on that huge thing every year, Taste the Soul. 350,000 people come out every year for Taste of Soul. So the importance, somebody put it in the chat earlier, I think it was RNG. And I'm gonna paraphrase them because I say it a lot too. These, when I lay, and Greer's right, the administration, their policies has a whole lot to do with this. But the other side is the lack of Black wealth, the Black wealthy support from Black wealthy communities. But until, as ONG, I'm going to paraphrase, when they get in trouble, they automatically find the Black press. How about before you get in trouble? How about while we're in trouble? Come find us while we're in trouble. That's my spill.
I mean, I think it's important for people to know. I mean, there's nothing else to add to that. Well said.
All right, some Black history facts. How about that? On this date in 1946, the University of Tennessee refused to play Duquesne University because they might have used an African-American player, Chuck Cooper, in the game. Cooper went on to become the first African-American player ever drafted in basketball. Turn lemons into lemonade, right?
Okay. I wonder if like LeBron and Michael Jordan and, I wonder if they know about Chuck Cooper.
So I would guess, right. I would guess, and it's no shade against LeBron James at all. I don't get into that debate about who's the greatest or whatever when it comes to him and Michael. But I believe that, and no shade to Michael, the one person, if you tell me only one of the three know about him, it would be Kobe Bryant. Kobe was a student of the game.
You know what? I think you're 100% right. I think Kobe would know who he was. 100%. Yep. I don't know about LeBron, but I mean, this is something that every Steph Curry might know about him.
Another
Steph
student of the
Curry
game.
might know, student of the game. But I think that every NBA player should know about him because he was the first African-American player ever drafted. Okay. Yep. First. Yep. How do you not know? This is a great question to ask the players as they go into the locker room, even the female players, because of him, Chuck Cooper.
Yep. There you go. He's the Jackie Robinson of basketball.
Right, for sure. That's a great question. I might go in all the basketball players' comments and say, do you know who Chuck Cooper is? Do you know who Chuck Cooper is?
Yeah.
Because they need to know. We talked about Betty Reid Soskin earlier, but there's another Black woman who was born today that we think you should know about. Her name is Frederica Carolyn Freddie Washington. And she was born today in 1903 and was the first one of the first Black Americans to gain recognition for film and stage work in the 1920s and 30s. And you probably know her from Imitation to Life, the 1934 movie. Her iconic role as the light-skinned Black woman who attempts to pass as a white to escape racial discrimination. But what makes her so unique is she was the co-founder of the Negro Actors Guild of America, known as NAG back then, to fight for better opportunities and fair treatment for Black performers. She also worked closely with the NAACP and was a lobbyist for the Dyer anti-lynching bill. And it just a great story to know. She began her career in the Cotton Club in Harlem during the 1920s, and she appeared in Black and Tan, a short film featuring Duke Ellington in 1929. She died June 28th in 1994. But I mean, Imitation of Life is such an iconic movie, right?
Yeah.
And she played the daughter who ran away and, you know, dogged her mama out. You know, she dogged her mama in Imitation of Life. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. But just another Black story of, you know, women who I knew nothing about this woman. I knew her from the movie, but to know that she was so instrumental of helping, like, just like Chuck Cooper, I wonder if Holly Berry knows this woman. I wonder if Viola Davis knows this woman, you know, Ava
That's a good one.
DuVernay. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Do they know this woman because of her fight? They fly now.
Yeah. And you mentioned Ava DuVernay, but how about, you know who I think would know if nobody else knew. I don't know who knows. Who
Ava
don't, right?
probably might know, yeah, but who else?
Well, I was gonna say Tyler Perry. And the
Tyler-
reason
you
why I say
think
Tyler
Perry would
Perry,
know? Okay.
because Tyler Perry appears to, and I don't know this to be a fact, but I knew that about Kobe, but he appears to be a student of this of his craft.
I actually think, you know, I brought up Viola Davis might know.
You think so?
She went to Juilliard, right? She's a
Yeah.
she's a student
Good point.
of the art.
Right.
Angela Bassett may know who this woman was.
You know who doesn't get enough credit and barely gets credit, if you ask me, who I absolutely adore
Who?
as an actress is Alfre Woodard.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
I think she is so. You talk about unsung.
Mhm.
She's you know, it's amazing to say that a star is unsung. She's a star who's unsung.
Right. No, she definitely is one who was underrated. I loved her actually in that Tyler Perry movie. What was the name of the movie with the white woman and they went across the country? Greer, what's the name of that movie, that Tyler Perry movie where they went across the country like Thelma and Louise?
Oh gosh.
It was the Tyler, you know what I'm talking about? It was a
I
Tyler
think
Perry's
so.
movie.
I think
And it
so.
was with Kathy Bates.
Okay. I remember. I do remember.
Yeah, that she
I
was
forget
good
the
in that
name.
movie too. That movie
Yeah.
was hilarious. What is
Yeah.
the name of that Tyler Perry
Family
movie?
That Prays.
The Family That Prays, and it's Preys. Praise.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
that was
Exactly.
good. Hmm.
Yeah.
It's a
Alfre
lot of
Woodard.
trolls. It's a lot of trolls in the
Hey,
I'm
they
excited
got nothing
about
to do.
that. No, but
Mhm.
I'm excited about that because that's generally when you are on the turn for greatness.
There you go. I told you J. Anthony Brown will probably have told you the same thing, right? When the comedians they get up there, Bernie Mac was famous for white people, welcome white people, welcome,
Yeah,
racist,
yeah.
you're welcome.
But you know,
Trolls are
and I
welcome.
mean, and what I'm thinking about too is, you know, I was really thinking I was really listening more so than ready to respond or have something to add to when you were talking about the Black press. But you know, stuff like that, it just gets my brain going. Like,
Mhm.
what type of content can we create that is packageable to get advertisers to participate? And I'm thinking about the Olympics that are coming up. I'm thinking about the
Mhm.
World Cup that's coming up. You know, like, just really excited to see, like, what I mean, for me, from a personal standpoint, as we end the year, what can I contribute to, you know, keep it alive? You know, and for no other reason but for the ancestors, right? They've created this space for me. They've created this space for me. Journalism, producing is my passion. And if they created this space for me through hardship, worse than what I'm experiencing, then I'm going to do everything that I can. We were talking about faith, right? We were talking about faith. You know, faith without action. That's what the Pastor Moore said. Faith without action is dead. So I'm going to put my faith into practice to do everything that I can, and then I'm expecting God to show up. And so thank you for that pep talk, Stacy.
Yeah, I gave you a pep talk.
Yeah, it was definitely a pep talk, because I'm always thinking about what can I do. Because everything that you said was 100% right. And I'm not on the like, I think that, you know, certain people could contribute more. I'm not saying that, but it's just like, this is where we are now. This is where
Yeah.
we are now, and it seems like nobody's coming to save us.
So you gotta
So
save yourself, right?
one
It's the
thing
Titanic.
one thing that Black people know is how to save themselves.
Mm.
And may the ancestors win from all of the journalists from the past. May their wind blow us successfully into 2026.
Well,
Now watch me fly, because I'm fly.
here we go. Dr. Joni, yes, yes, we will. I think Dr. Joni says yes. He says, "Will this amazing show be back at the new year? So much to do in 26. It's so valuable." Dr. Joni, the one thing about this show is that we are not depending on anyone in particular. We're depending on ourselves.
Right. And hopefully what we are able to do next year will bring fresh wind to Black Press USA, will bring fresh wind to the NNPA, so that, you know, we can thrive. You know, maybe we'll be the thing that keeps hopes alive, in the words of our beloved Reverend Jesse Jackson. You know, and that's the mindset I think that we're in. Like, what can we do to keep this going? Because Black voices matter, and we understand that.
Yeah, and perhaps we'll start doing what Roland does as well. And Roland has the donate button on his thing, and he's asking folks to donate to keep him going. And they have done well by Roland, and I'm happy for him. Maybe we'll do the same.
All right, I love it.
If that's what it takes, and they want us, then hey, there we go.
Right.
So everybody, all I can say is enjoy yourselves. Reality Bites Back says he totally supports that. So he or she totally, because it doesn't say if it's a male or female, so I don't want to offend anybody.
And if anything pops off,
Mhm.
before the new year, we will be back. You know,
Yep.
something is majorly important. We may be back Monday or Tuesday of next week. Maybe Greer's probably like, no, we're not. But but she does say if something important happens, we'll be back. But if not, we want you guys to have a very holly merry holiday season. I wish I could say it, so I'm gonna say it now. Stacy, happy Kwanzaa.
Orange E says it's about time for us to get the donation button going. $5 a month adds up, he says. And Cold Trap, thanks. He said, Cold Trap says, how stupid can two people be? He's talking about you and I. We can get even stupider for you if you want. So don't worry about it. We got you.
Now, you know what I say to people like that? Your mama.
Your mama. That's right.
Your mama. No, but to the point, we have to adopt certain ways. That's one thing that Black Press, you know, has to do more of, is adopting how younger people make their money. They have no shame with the $5 button. So we have to, you know, be competitive in this new time that we're in with AI, with social media. We have to be more intentional about the content that we curate, that is competitive, that it's compelling, and that it reaches the people that it reaches. Because if you meet the needs of the people, then it's gonna all be there. But we have to get into this new technology space in a more intentional way, and I think that we are doing it. And if we continue to do it, we'll be all right.
Yeah. All right. We gotta go. We will see you guys. Take care. We'll see you. If, like Niele said, if anything breaks, we'll be right back.
I want to go away. Go away? Go where, Viola? I mean, by that I mean, I want to go away. And you mustn't see me or own me or claim me or anything. I mean, even if you pass me on the street, you'll have to pass me by. Oh, no, Viola. Oh, I know it's terrible of me, Miss B.
But you don't know what it is to look white and be black. You don't know. I can't go on this way any longer. I can't give up a baby, a boy, a nurse.